Welcome to this how-to guide on advertising your messy church. How to promote your messy church. Flyers are probably the easiest way to promote your messy church. If it's monthly, people might not remember that it's the second or the first Saturday or the Sunday in the month, but if you give them a flyer to take home, they'll have a much better reminder. Microsoft Word is the simplest program to use. It comes as standard on most computers. So turn your document to landscape, select columns and split it into two. And this will split the document so you can make two A5 flyers that sit nicely next to each other. So here's one that we made for a special event. It's got an image on it. So for regular sessions, you might want to put the next 3 or 4 dates instead of the space where the image is. A really quick way to create an image which can be used in advertising is by using Microsoft PowerPoint. In this example, I have taken the Messy Church logo and the most basic information of the date and the time of the session. So the design tool at the right hand side shows some suggested designs based on what you have entered. And you can then export these slides to a JPEG format which can be used on social media. It can be attached to emails or displayed on screens. If you want to go slightly more professional, take a look at Canva, which is an online design tool. There's lots of free designs and templates available, as well as some ones that you can pay for if your messy church has the funds for this. So this is really good if you want to create a striking visual with minimal words. You can resize these templates to suit different platforms. You might not want to do this every month because it can be a bit time consuming, but it's good to promote a special event and to help that one to stand out and look a bit different to your usual adverts. Here's 2 that I created using my own photos. There's loads of high quality, royalty free images available online. Google Images has lots, but it's not so obvious which ones are royalty free. So to really make sure, the good site to use is Unsplash. This site contains photos which other people have taken and uploaded. Here's an example of a search I did on the word picnic when I wanted to promote a messy church summer picnic. Here's the images that came up. I chose the one on the right. I went into Canva and created this advert. So another tool for your advertising is the Messy Church's own website, which has logos, some of which can be personally customised. Here's an example of one with a church name on and one for a special session, in this case Pentecost.
Here's some tips on how you can promote your messy church to younger people like me. Avoid aiming your content solely to younger people and the elderly. Try and use highly visual content with bold imagery. There's a lot of advertising on social media and it really helps to try and make yours stand out from the crowd. Think about your design styles and try and use official logos where you can. It needs to look professional so that people actually pay attention to your advert. You should make adverts relevant to younger people. Show them activities they'd be interested in, but try not to be too hip or cool by using our terminology. That really doesn't look very good. You should be authentic with what you're saying. Do you really believe it, or are you just trying to put on a front to attract us? Make the content short and direct. People only watch for a very short time, so you need to get as much information in as quickly as you can. And prioritise mobile platforms. A lot of younger people consume basically all of their content on their phone, so that's where you should be targeting. You should encourage interaction on social media. If people comment or like on your posts, it pushes it to a wider audience and more people will see it. And you should also consider additional platforms like TikTok. Even if you aren't familiar with them yourselves, younger people really do get involved on there, so they're much more likely to see what you're posting. And also, when you post adverts in public, in physical formats, Put QR codes on them so people don't have to type in a long URL to see what you're trying to say. And it's a lot easier for people to just scan it quickly than trying to sit there typing on their phone a long link.
Maybe your church has a stand that you can advertise flyers in, something like this. So we've got our Messy Church ones here. Or just generally around the church so that anybody who comes in can see these. So any of the groups, such as the toddlers or the uniform groups, or just a Sunday after a service when people are having coffee. Just make sure the word gets out so that it's visible and it's got the logo on it. There's also an additional advertising opportunity on this screen here that we're lucky enough to have at this church. If you've got an outside notice board like this one, make sure you've got up-to-date information in there, because you never know who might be passing. If your church has a newsletter, make sure you get in there too. And also, when people come to your groups, get their email addresses so you can get the up-to-date information out to them. We're also maximising further advertising opportunities indoor as well. Ask for your sessions to be read out at the pulpit during a Sunday morning service. You never know who might be listening.
So, there's a number of places outside church where you can advertise. Take some of your flyers and ask local shops and businesses if they'll put them in the windows, or even just ask family and friends if they'll put one in theirs. Your community might have a notice board in a public area where flyers can be displayed, or a locally distributed magazine or newsletter, like this one. There might be a local community event or fair where you could have a stall. Send an electronic flyer via email to the administrators at local schools. You should be able to find their email addresses on the school websites. If there are other groups associated with the church that have their own social media, why not ask them if they'd be prepared to promote Messy Church on there? And if you have a special event coming up, have a go at writing up a press release and sending it to your local newspaper. They're normally more than happy to print them. So, social media. Facebook is by far the best social media platform for a Messy Church group, in my humble opinion. If you only have the capacity to run one platform for your group, I would say this is the one to go for. Now, there's two different types of accounts that you can create on Facebook. You can have a page or you can have a group. And you could run one or other or even both. Now, a page is closest to an individual's own personal Facebook page, really. It's a public space which would serve as your notice board, and it can be seen by anyone. With this in mind, make sure that you have consent from your families to put any photos with them on the page. You can put your flyers and your advertising images on the page to promote upcoming events, as well as putting on pictures of past crafts, activities, worship, even food, so that anyone who comes to the page has a really good idea of what it's all about. You can invite engagement by asking a question of the week or encouraging people to post photos of, for argument's sake, their advent calendars, their pancakes and things like that. Facebook groups are closed, private spaces that only members of that group can see the content of. You can invite specific people to join, and you can control who's able to join the group and who's in the group and who can therefore see its content. So a group is more of a space to have pastoral conversations and possible discipleship, things you wouldn't necessarily want to be made public for anyone to see, as well as just getting to know your families a bit better and growing your relationships with them. So other platforms. Twitter is very good for advertisements and announcements for upcoming events. You can also use Google Maps as a form of community advertising. Now, most churches should have a location pin thing on Google Maps, and you can add photos to that. So if you add photos of your Messy Church events, then anyone who's looking for a church in their area that has a Messy Church group will be able to see, oh look, there's one there, and they'll know the sort of thing that goes on. Instagram is a purely photo-based platform, so it's great for showcasing crafts and activities from your group. Arty photos of food always go down very well on Instagram. WhatsApp is a messaging platform, so we have one set up for the leaders of our group, where we discuss dates of meetings and upcoming Messy Church sessions, ideas for potential themes, craft activities and so on. You could also have a separate group for the families from the Messy Church. Again, you can control who joins this group and you know who's in it and who's able to see the content. YouTube is a video sharing platform. Now, you might feel a bit intimidated at the idea of making a video for YouTube, but it doesn't really have to be complicated. You could simply use your mobile phone to film someone reading a Bible story in an interesting way or acting out a scene, and then you could use that as part of your worship session. It could be shared with other Messy Church groups or just other groups generally as a resource. Your YouTube channel can also be used to promote your Messy Church group. But again, make sure you have appropriate consent for anyone who appears in any of your videos. Here's some tips for you. Remember, above all else, you don't need a great level of technical expertise here. Make sure you use high quality photos. Keep updating your content regularly so it doesn't look stale, and reference current events where applicable. Encourage engagement and make sure you respond to comments. Add hashtags, which will increase your visibility. Think about what times of day are better than others. And try and use different faces and voices where possible, just to add a bit more variety. How to make the most of your video. Make sure you grab your viewers' attention. Bold fonts and colours make for a big visual impact. Don't waffle. Make it hard for people to switch off once they've started watching. Keep a smile on your face. Keep it brief and get to the point quickly. Try and make your video in such a way that short clips of it can be cut out for bite-sized punchy advertising. These can be used on various different social media platforms. Remember, if filming on your phone, use landscape orientation for videos to avoid those unsightly bars at the side of a portrait format video. Choose a good thumbnail image that grabs the viewer's attention whilst also summing up the content of the video, and come up with a good description, not just something like Messy Church Session 3rd of March.